What's up everybody, Billy Strange here with Inside Sim Racing, bringing you another test drive in Assetto Corsa. More specifically, Porsche Pack number 2. And before we jump into a race with the 911 GT1, I thought I'd talk about a few other cars from the pack that I greatly enjoyed, and we'll start with the 718 RS Spider. Not a lot of horsepower here, combined with a skinny hard tire, makes for a car that moves around a lot in the turns, so you've got to be very smooth and keep up your rolling momentum because you cannot brute force your way out of the turn with loads of torque or horsepower to save you. A lot of fun can be had with this car. I liked it a lot. Almost all these cars are kind of in the same fun factor category for me, I guess. The Porsche 919, while I'm not very good at driving this car, I do have a lot of fun with it. There's nothing like hitting the hybrid button as you're coming out of the turn and having it launch down the straightaway. John's already done a video on this, so I won't go into too much more detail, but again, I did have a lot of fun with the 919. And now comes to the part where it was really hard for me to decide between the 962 and the 911. The 962 probably pulls on my nostalgia strings just a little more. I grew up during the Group C era, and I love these cars, so nostalgia is a factor, but the car itself is a lot of fun to drive. Whatever Kunos has done with these cars in Assetto Corsa, they're just a blast to drive. The 6.2, the long tail and the short tail versions, there's very small differences between them. They're roughly the same. The cockpit's a little different. I prefer aesthetically the short tail version. Just lots of turbo and a 5-speed gearbox. It just combines to make a really good and very strong package with this car. Lots of fun to drive. Moves all over the place, especially into braking. We've heard people talk about the spooled rear ends, which essentially is almost like a locked rear differential. And so that does make it a difficult car to drive in one aspect. But in another aspect, it's almost easier to drive because of how the car creates its turn entry. And if you know what the car is going to do while it's going into the turn, it's not ridiculous. It's a very, to me, it seems reasonable. Enough rambling. We're on to the 911. This one I picked for the car to drive just because it surprised me the most. It was the biggest surprise. Because aesthetically I'm not a huge fan of this car, and I was really expecting to not like it a whole lot because every other time I've driven a 911 Evo, it's not that great. This one though, I had a lot of fun with, and we'll get to why in just a moment. You can see here, this is what we've got going on. Track surface, time of day, light clouds, and 12 lap race. 5 minutes worth of qualifying just so we can get a couple laps in. Opponent strength at 96 with 13 other drivers because there's really nothing else that can be very competitive with this car. I tried the United Racing Designs CLR. That thing's way too fast. The other cars that you could possibly put with this don't really fit because they're, even though it's still the GT1 era, they are two different sub eras of cars. The short tail is not competitive with this car at all. Same thing with the Ferrari F40. There's actually a GT version of that car, if I remember right, and that car, the version in the game, is not competitive with the 911 as well. So again, sorry for the rambling, but we'll jump into the Silverstone GP track. Alright, and there she is. I'm not going to bore you with an out lap or a practice lap to show you what Silverstone looks like. That track's been done to death, and I'm pretty sure you have an idea what it looks like in Assetto Corsa, but this is a mod skin. Nice job with that. Gives us the Warsteiner logo on there. And so yeah, we're going to jump into qualifying. I'll show you the best lap there, and then we'll jump into the race, and I'll also show my setup. Alright, so my first lap was atrocious. Let's try my second lap. Nope, a little little too slow into that turn. You can use the curbs just a little bit to help turn this car because it just doesn't have a whole lot of downforce on the nose. So you will get some interesting pushes on and off throttle. The reason I like this car is I feel like it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I can work with. It's not so ridiculously difficult that I'm not getting all that I can, at least from myself, in the car. Sometimes you're just constantly waiting on the car, or the car is that much better than you are. Where this one's kind of a good mix in between, and it makes for a... What I like about it is it makes for a fun challenge. Again, it's, you know, the 962 is a challenge all in itself. I really like that car too, but this one, like I said, I'm doing this because I did not expect to like this car. I don't think our qualifying run's going to be that good. Yeah, we're in the 5s, and we need to be well better than that. A little overshoot there. Just got to be careful when turning and getting on the throttle with this car. It's very easy to lose the back end, and I am going to be at the dead back of the pack. What's funny is I'm in the back section of this, but at 95% AI, I was almost on pole, so I opted for the more difficult difficulty, and that will probably bite me. Alright, so there's where we qualified. Would have had a little better front end lap time. I should have been somewhere in here. I've run clear down into the low 202s, but that's when the fuel load is light and the tires are decent. And I actually qualified on softs. I prefer mediums. The softs are just a hair quicker, but not for that long. I end up liking the way the car handles better with mediums. So these are my settings. If you want to even give these a try, you know, by all means, know that my settings aren't absolute. They're just what I have found. Some of them I didn't change at all. Oh, and one quick thing. Hey, we got brake power now. We can adjust how much brake pressure we have. So thank you very much. That's very nice of Kunos. I really enjoy that because it makes it easier. Instead of jumping out into the settings options and trying to get that adjusted and adjusting pedals, you can just adjust your brake power. There's suspension. I don't think I changed anything there, or the advanced. I pretty much left all that alone. I really like playing with the camber and toe settings. And alright, 12 laps, here we go. Okay, wait for those lights to go out. Try to manage that tire spin. This thing has no traction control, but it does have ABS, which is interesting. Just trying not to get hit is a task all unto itself. Oh. Just gotta be careful with the throttle. You can see me fighting it right now. See how many spots we can pick up this first lap, because I think that's going to be pretty crucial to where we finish here. Got a car to the inside. Got to push out of the car. We'll lose another spot. And we're back to where we started. Try to give him room. So Silverstone is not my favorite track, but it's the one they had in the challenge, but I wanted to do a longer race and qualify. But I did try running that challenge. I found it interesting. Alien is like 98%, and then hard is 95%. And almost the same thing happened when I started running. Got past a few cars, and then we just started running the same lap times in both difficulty levels, which I found odd. Completion of lap 1 here. So once the tires get all warmed up and everything, you just start finding you've got to turn earlier than you think you should for this car. Again, you can really use the curbs to your advantage to help steer the car through the turn. You're getting on those curbs changes traction, changes weight. How much weight is planted on those outside tires. Had to lift there because it really got a big bite. This car is very sensitive to how much brake input you give it. Too much brake input and it definitely will shove the front end in these low speed corners. And that's its main problem on the low speed turns is, yeah, there's no aero adjustments on the front, and if you try to take wing out of the back, the car is very nervous on entry, so I wouldn't suggest doing that. But what you can do to help that is play with the camber and the tire pressures. There's no diff adjustment, so that won't help you. And then just really making laps with the car and understanding what the difference is between high speed and low speed turn with the car. See, I got on the brakes just a little too hard there. Yeah, and if you're turning and you give it a big old, stab the throttle really hard, it's gonna try and spin out. But what's interesting is you can tell it wants to do that, but you can keep it from doing that by modulating the throttle correctly. Pretend like there's an egg underneath the throttle. Pedal, that is. And again, I found the biggest thing with this car is just turning before you think you should. Whoa. There's that on throttle oversteer. Woohoo. Again, it gets sideways, it's manageable, but you don't want to do that too often because it really will. Your luck will run out. It will just finally just spin around on you because it does have a lot of tail weight to it, or swing weight rather. And once it gets going, you're not going to catch it. But there is a threshold. You can be just below that point of no return and still have it get sideways. Seem to catch him a little through here. Still got quite a ways to go. And whatever you do, don't stab the throttle and turn either. It really will make that back end whip around on you. Slight crab out of the corner there, not a big deal. The car just keeps moving forward. Again, this car is almost, well, not this one specifically. The short tail version of this, which I think was 96? I don't know. It's something like that. Late to the throttle there. But the 962 really grew long in the tooth. Started becoming uncompetitive with the other cars, especially when like Jaguar and stuff started bringing out the XJR 14s, and the car was just no longer relevant. But you could consider this car a somewhat of a spiritual successor, I guess, to the 962. I think it has the same or close to the same power plant that was in the 962. I'm just trying to remember and drive and talk all at the same time is messing with me. Let's see if we can get underneath this guy. Nope, started to break the back end out. It has a sequential gearbox that doesn't need a blip when shifting, but it's not a paddle shifter, so I am using the correct, I'm using my TH8A in a sequential mode. Again, that just kind of adds to the character of the car. I'm using my Thrustmaster Formula 1 rim and a T300 base. Too deep. Woo. I'm overdriving the car. Although that wasn't as bad as it could have been. And short shifting is a good way to keep the car from gaining too many RPMs and possibly giving you a problem. With wheel spin coming out of the turn, lost the arrow on the front end, combining with braking a little too late. Didn't help me in that turn at all. Not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to have to wait. Fuel load's lightening. I can feel the tires are getting just a little better. Don't have to wait so long on the car. He's trying to squeeze me. Still there. He's going to take the spot back. Another thing of note, I don't think this car had any non-factory support. Oh boy. That's not good. Too deep. I don't think this car had any non-factory supported cars. So in other words, with the 956 and the 962, they built cars for customers. I don't believe they did that with this car here. Okay, we're over halfway. And yeah, we're just kind of riding along. I gain, I lose. Just kind of pogoing back and forth at the moment, so. Either they're going to have to get slower or I'm going to have to find more speed, which I should be able to. Not doing that, though. Oops. And that's what happens when you get too overzealous with the throttle in this car. I thought I was going to be able to get a run underneath, and... well... this isn't good. Alright, so we're on our last lap here. I've caught up a little bit, but not much. The tires have definitely given way to wear. I just can't quite plant the car anymore. I'm still catching, but very slowly. And now we're playing in the grass. Yeah, definitely losing some off the front tires. Back into the car isn't as hooked up. But oh well. See, I've caught up another second from last lap, but just not. Kind of lost the confidence in the car. Still a fun car to drive. I just made a stupid error. Definitely just losing the tires on it. Medium tires. AI cars are running mediums as well. This probably tells me that possibly I should have run with, well, it's hard to say. If I hadn't made a mistake... oh, slow down, please. I might have been alright, but... it is what it is. Just gotta quit making those mistakes. Good old 14th place. Oh well. So even though it's not a stellar finish, hopefully you enjoyed a look at this 911 GT1 98 and Assetto Corsa's new DLC pack that is the Porsche pack number 2. We've got one more to go. Again, this car, the 956, or sorry, the 962s, wishful thinking 56, 962s, the 919, and what was it, the 718 Spider, all are excellent cars to drive in this pack. All the other cars were kind of meh, in my opinion, so yeah, that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please click that like button. It lets us know that you did enjoy this content, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take care.